Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Fringe Talkback. My name is Kate Coley, and I am the 2020 Cincy Fringe Talkback producer, and I am very, very excited to be here this evening with the team that brought us Killjoy, Ohio, which is a new show from Queen City Flash. If you could all introduce yourselves, then we'll go ahead and get started with some questions, and audience, please feel free to add questions as we go.
Hi, I'm Bridget Leek. I am the director of Killjoy, Ohio.
I'm Trey.
I'm Jordan.
Perfect. Thank you all so much for being here. I'd love to start out with Trey and Bridget, you telling us a little bit about Queen City Flash, how this creative partnership came about, maybe a little bit on how it's evolved, and then Jordan, if you can speak to how you came onto this project.
Yeah, so we're married and we make theater. So I'm a director, Trey is a playwright and a composer, and we make theater that is super bizarre and whimsical and fun.
Yeah. We started, she cast me as an actor in a show that she's doing in grad school, and then we started kissing, and now we make different theater.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's the long and the short of it.
But I feel like the type of theater that we make ranges from all types and all forms. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and doing a Zoom play, let's just add that to the mix. So.
Yay. I got involved in this because I was doing improv with a good friend of Trey and Bridget named good old Dave F. and Powell. Yeah. And they were doing a show called Ken Ham's Journey to the Center of the Earth, and we're looking for actors, and he was like, I know this girl Jordan, she's in my improv troupe, she's okay.
Yeah,
and they cast me.
It was real weird because we're like independent, like self-producers. Mm-hmm. You know, our whole thing is that like the only thing we're really willing to spend money on is the performers. So of course, the first time Jordan met us, she's like, "So I go to their house?"
Yeah.
And I just go to their living room, and then
we didn't audition her. Dave Powell was just like, "Yeah, Jordan's really good. You should cast her." I was like, "Great, Jordan. We're first rehearsals this day at our apartment. Yeah. I'll see you then."
Yeah, because I don't know the last time we had an audition for anything.
Yeah, we don't really do that. We just like making art with friends.
Well, it definitely worked out.
Yeah.
And remind me what year the Ken Ham show was?
Ken Ham was 2016, I think.
Yeah, right.
We did December, and then we did it again in March. And I don't know if it was like 15 and 16 or 16 and 17. Back in the good old days where like we didn't have to be fully aware that everyone denied science. Back in those innocent days.
Those pure days.
Where there was nothing, where like believing the science wasn't real wasn't actually very harmful to their livelihood.
Yay!
Back when we were like, people will get this, right?
Yeah, and we could all be in a big room.
Right.
Simpler times.
Mm-hmm.
So this play covers, as you said, Bridget, your work tends to be whimsical and various in themes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ground covered by Killjoy, Ohio. There's some supernatural, there's some Bermuda Triangle, there's some small town life, some nostalgia. So I'd love to hear a little bit, Trey, from you about where this story, what was the sort of kickoff point for this story?
We got fucked because the Fringe moved online.
Yeah.
That's the start of the story.
So ultimately, Trey had an idea, and Jordan was sort of on board. We knew that we wanted to work with her. We had forced her. I don't know if she verbally agreed to be on board. We were like, Jordan, write our play.
I was told. Trey told me. He said, Jordan, you're doing our Fringe play.
Right. And it so happened that Trey had already started working out the details of this play that he wanted to write about a little boy who's trapped at the bottom of the ocean. And then when the pandemic hit and when we went online, it was like, Trey, no one wants to see your quarantine play. No one wants to view the story. We've all been trapped indoors. No one wants to see someone trapped at the bottom of the ocean. Yeah. And so Trey we all had to very drastically sort of pivot, as everyone has. Mm-hmm. But I think our pivoting was a little more extreme in that we had to completely rewrite the story.
Right.
Yeah, well, because it's like, I feel like if you were to say to somebody, hey, are you going to submit a painting for the painting contest? And they're like, yeah. And you're like, cool, it's actually sculpture now. The first thing you do is be like, okay, well, I'm going to make a different thing. I'm not doing pictures and flowers anymore. So I think when we knew that we were moving online, it's like, well, that there is no play anymore. So it's like, it's April 15th. We're back to square one. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that I think we had to the first thing that had to happen before you could have a story was to go ahead and set all the ground rules of like, well, I'm not fucking going to Jordan's house for rehearsal.
Yeah, and so it was just like,
Right.
what are the limitations then also of Zoom? Like we've all been teaching online using Zoom. We've all used Zoom to have cocktail hour with friends and whatnot. So it was really about like, well, how can we still make a play, but then break and keep some of the rules of Zoom? And so it was sort of reverse engineering of like knowing what our limitations were, knowing how we were going to then flip some of those limitations, but then building the play sort of from that way forward, and then writing it, and then creating it.
So it was like, discovering that we were never going to see each other. And like, even on like days where like I would bring Jordan props, like we would meet in our masks, she would take a box, lie solid on day 1, and then bring it to rehearsal on day 2. So, so it's like building a play responsibly was a big part of it, but then also watching a bunch of Zoom plays and discovering like, what do you have to do to be successful? What are the limitations? And so like, I knew that we would have postcards that were heading back and forth.
Right.
I knew why we would have postcards. And I knew,
very cool.
and I knew, okay, well, I'm stealing a bunch of lights from school because I have things at school that I can steal. So like, cool, we can do like wild purple back walls. Okay, great. So I knew there would be supernatural, like, and I had these like stupid water lights. So all of those things, it was like, what are the assets that we have?
Right.
And then how can we build a play from those?
So like, even before we had a script, which was a significant portion of this rehearsal process, would be like a day of me in my murder closet by myself, taking screenshots of what I can do with flashlights and
then
what I can
sending
do
them
with...
and then like showing them to me. I mean, like, does this look good? Does this look as good as I think it looks from my end? So yeah. So it really was like, we had to figure out, how do you make art responsibly, and then how do you make it has to feel like a play. So like, we knew it had to be single take, and I knew that the opening of the show was showing you that I'm in a closet, so that you don't think like, because I didn't go to film school. Right.
And I don't know how to fucking do that. I don't want to know how to do that. I know how to make plays. And so it was like, we're gonna make a play, it's gonna be online. So discover the breadth of what you can do, and then pray a story comes to you.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting knowing that, because I've heard from some other groups who had to reorient. It's like, well, let's take this old idea off the shelf, dust it off and see what happens. You guys, it really sounds like, took the form you had to deal with and thrive in, and then figured out what content came out of it.
Yeah, and I mean, luckily Trey, once he had the idea, which started with a joke, I think the joke was like the first.
So it's the same thing. So like, it's the same thing with Zoinks last year, where like, the original version of Zoinks, it was Casper Nolan and her 2 best friends. One was a kid who had survived a drowning and so could see like ghosts, but they weren't interested in him. And then a girl who had like a super strict mother who just wanted to fuck the man, and they were just gonna solve murder mysteries. And then finally Bridget was like, no, it's you and Jordan. That's it.
We're not casting anyone else.
We're out of time.
You haven't written anything. We gotta go.
So whatever you 2 of you can do in 2 weeks. And so then I just like went for like a 2-hour-long like walk with the dogs, and it was like super early, because like if you don't walk Pocket at like 6 a.m. she fucking dies because she's just an all-black dog. So like I like woke Bridget up, and I was like, hey, I think the first 2 lines are, I'm a 14-year-old teen detective and I'm a semi-intelligent dog with limited vocabulary. We don't know which one is the bigger stretch. She went, yeah, that's a play. Goodbye.
Yep, go write it. We need pages.
And so it was the same thing with this, where like the cunt burglar joke was the first thing that I wrote.
And I was like, yep, that's funny, because we told it to a number of people and they all died. And I was like,
good.
Right, this is the little nugget that we need to get.
Also was like, I don't know, like it also becomes a thing of like, fuck, what can Jordan and I be? We be brother and sister? Are we neighbors?
Like, what is that relationship that isn't a love, like, like married or dating or old high school sweethearts? Yeah.
So it became about like finding the characters, and then once I landed on the joke, I was like, oh, she's broken into his house, and he needs her for reasons he doesn't understand, and then silly things just keep coming, and we figure out a way to put it together.
That's awesome.
I really don't remember why we have a Bermuda Triangle on display.
It's pretty important though, so I
don't remember why. I don't remember like
how you stumbled upon
that. I don't know. At one point I was like, honey, I want to do an Agatha Christie murder mystery, and she's like, that's stupid. Do something else.
Find a different play.
Yeah.
That is the beauty of collaboration, is to have someone to tell you when your ideas just aren't going to work ahead of time. Jordan, I'd love to hear from you a little bit about what the like Zoom rehearsal process was like. Any takeaways you'll have from it?
Yeah, so it was interesting because like I have a background in film, and so working with the camera and that was pretty natural, like, you know, knowing your framing and all that other stuff, which also when it became clear that it was not going to be a stage play, it was going to be a filmed thing, the brief, like maybe 24 hours, I was like, oh God, do we have to make a movie? Like knowing what's involved in that,
right.
very nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, and it was great because, like, you know, I've worked with Trey and Bridget before, you know, we have great rapport, and I knew that it was going to be super weird, and that we were gonna, you know, pretty much do rehearsals every day for a period of time, you know, and it was just gonna be, it was going to be weird, and it was going to be a cool kind of learning experience because we had talked about, you know, bringing over the things from school where, like, I had a light board and I was like, I've never touched one of those in my life. We've been threatened with death.
Right.
So I was really excited about that. Once after the first like 3-hour rehearsal where I was going, wait, how do if I tell me exactly
which one? This one?
The
How
first
have I screwed this up?
Zoom were terrible days.
Yeah,
terrible.
There's also like Jordan, you're a lighting designer, so pick a yellow color that you like.
Yeah,
and try to match it in a completely different environment.
Wow. Yeah.
So they made it comparatively easy on me. I mean, like, I pushed this button, so do this now. Then that was kind of that. So it was really cool and a really great learning experience. Yeah, and would do again in a while.
Cool. Yeah.
Also, it's like you can tell that Jordan has things in that room that weren't in there the last time you saw the play.
Yeah, this is the room.
Oh, that's the room.
Completely rearranged to get everything out.
Yeah, you completely empty this room into the rest of your living space.
Yes.
It won't be peaceful. It's not gonna be like a calm place anymore.
Yeah.
All that shit needs to go.
Aggressive now. Yeah, this back here where this lone sad chair is, that used to be where my partner James's desk was, where he would come home and write and work and relax. Yeah. It's in the living room now, in the middle of the living room.
Yeah.
It has been for months. And we're probably gonna move soon, so it's probably not gonna get moved back. So I have my own office.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. So we actually have an audience question from Ricky and Dana. And they want to know if there are any plans to eventually bring this show to stage and if you think it would work on stage.
Yeah, I think we kind of talked about doing a live Zoom performance of the show, and then quickly realized all the sound disasters that happen with Zoom, the way that it compresses sound, the way that it mixes sound. So we're like, well, maybe not. We probably can't do a live show, but if we did, it would be super complicated. But in terms of doing a stage production, a number of people we've talked to are like, yeah, I love the postcards. It would suck to lose those in a staged production. And I'm sure you can work it out with like projections or some sort. But there is something about like, we created this play for this specific weird medium.
Yeah.
So I think for now, it's just gonna live on this.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
No, fuck Killjoy. No. We're gonna make new stories. Hey, also, hi Ricky and Dana. You guys are fucking cool.
Yes.
This is like a severe amount of like camaraderie and kindness and like just badass awesomeness that y'all are infusing into this festival. And like, fuck yeah, y'all are like watching this right now.
Yeah,
and we were like very
awesome.
Should we resolve their bet?
Oh yeah, you should.
Sorry, they're monologues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're based on true stories.
Yeah, and that was part of it too. Where like I just texted Jordan one night. I was like, hey. We're gonna add monologues of where we talk about actual things that we've lost, so you need to write it. Good night.
Well, I wrote things. I'm a writer now.
Credit.
Yes. Ricky and Dana say thank you. With a smiley face.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I know. It's just this thing. Like as soon as a story is done, I'm always like, okay, cool.
The next one.
I want to.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't know.
So is that like I want to make a new thing now impulse? Are you at all excited about making a new Zoom thing, or are you like, let me write a live play? Cool. Yeah.
Now that we've worked out the kinks, not the kinks. There's like a significant number of like things that made it really hard to do this thing.
Yeah.
That I feel like we've learned, and some workarounds that we've learned. But so now the new thing is like, we want to do a play with a live audience, but like a different play, because I also think so. Like the things that are important about this one for me, our names are Trey and Jordan because our actual names are Trey and Jordan. And it felt like a barrier you could get rid of between like, you're laying in bed watching, you could be watching Netflix. You could be watching someone with a lot of money make something really slick and nice. So like we play ourselves or as closest to ourselves like, as we could get.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing it in a single take so that it feels like you're watching a live thing. So like those were important. And so like the next step forward for me in my mind is I want to see a play with a live audience, and I want to see theater where the audience plays an integral part, because I do think that we miss talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, because this is like the closest that we're going to get. And I really do appreciate, Kate, you doing these talkbacks, because usually right now we'd be downtown seeing shows and talking to people about our show and talking to them about how we made it and giving them the behind the scenes of, oh my God, you're never going to believe on day 3 of taping, Trey's closet ceiling collapsed in. And so like all that
That's
stuff.
true.
Oh yeah.
True.
That was fun.
I'll find my phone.
Yeah.
That's like
the photo is
exclusive, like bar series talking.
So all these things I feel like we don't get to release. And so we joked about the day that we filmed and we sent it to the Fringe. We were like, well, we just opened and closed a show and no one has seen it.
Yep.
That happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, because I was like talking to Bridget about this, and I was like really down one afternoon where I was just like, it's just this has been such a hard thing to do because like one, having to come up with a brand new play during a time where you don't feel the need to be creative, and then having to like rehearse a brand new thing when it takes twice as long to do anything effectively in a Zoom conference. And you're also now having to reinvent how you do lights and how you do sound and how you do props. And finally Bridget's just like, honey, no one gives a good fuck that it was hard for you.
They're just going to see the end product. So it was just like, all right, you got to get over that.
Some plays are easy to make and some plays are hard to make. It's a hard one. No one fucking cares. What are you talking about? Go work.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that came from.
I have this mental image of like Bridget pushing you into like a locked room. And
yeah, I mean, like, no, you get food later.
Or you sit out, no one cares. Get in there.
There's just the dustiest typewriter in there.
Oh man, hasn't been touched.
Did you find it, Trey? No.
Yeah, so you can see the stage light is there. So that was the background that he was projecting light onto. And so in about 24 hours, he had a completely, the hole's still up there. We're waiting for our plaster guy to come. He had to completely move and switch the performance space to the other wall. Yeah.
It happened in the middle of a taping. It was
that happened
crazy.
the day after the video was due.
Yeah.
No, but like we recorded it too because we were like starting to record runs just so like to start learning like how hard is it going to be. So, like because we were recording our audio separate from our video and then also recording the sound effects that were played live. We're recording them separately so I could then remix everything. So we were like recording to see how hard that shit would be. And so like my fat ass is like blocking that it fell. And then I turned on the light in the room for no good reason. And like Jordan and Bridget were like, what's going on? And then I stepped to the side and
we were like, what? Because I'm literally
do we keep going?
Yeah, because I'm not in the room with Trey because of Zoom sound. So I'm actually in the living room, one floor down below from where this has just happened. And I'm like, what are we gonna do?
Right, and she's also supposed to be giving notes, but she's also thinking, oh God, that's my house.
Yeah.
Hope it's not broken forever.
It won't be. It won't be. Someday. Wow.
But no, I just think that the next play has to have a live audience, and I think the next play has to have like meaningful interaction between audience and performer.
Yeah.
That's the next challenge. And I also like I'm starting to think too like I'm always going to write more than I'm supposed to. But I also think that like maybe we're also moving into a realm where plays don't have to be an act or maybe I mean like I don't know, part of me thinks I would see a play that was 25 minutes long on a Thursday because I know I'm seeing part 2 10 days later. Because I'm at home anyway,
Yeah, exactly.
So part of me is like, it's exciting, I think, because it's like how we consume has changed, which I also think means how we consume in all manner of other things is also allowed to change. So yeah, I don't know. And the fact that also, right, like if this were a play, we also have the chat window open next to us, which also is like another avenue of performance. So the next thing, like, yeah, I'm glad we made this thing. I'm glad we're done with this thing. I really like those characters. I really love that story. And now I want to make something new.
Right. Well, and you can tell that kitty cat.
He wanted to say hi. He was meowing.
Hello.
Inra, tell the people hi. Say hi, buddy. I was like, no, I want to snuggle. Okay.
Yep.
Well, yeah, that's so cool because it's really clear that you guys were like, let's use all the tools that we can figure out to use. And watching it, I was like, are they recording in the same space? Did they like do some disinfect 24 hours later, record the other half. That can't be it. They're playing off of each other, right? But I think it's really exciting that
Jordan's in Covington.
Yeah. I think it's great that you all are like, let's figure out what other tools we can use and grab those to just take advantage of or make the most, at least, of the situation we have in the new form that we're finding. Even though y'all don't call yourselves filmmakers, Trey and Bridget. Yeah, that's great.
It's theater. We made a play.
Yeah. That's really awesome. So I would love to know from each of you, all of you, how we can support you in your work moving forward, where we can find your work on the magical interwebs, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So first thing is I want to do a little shout out. We made buttons that we're wearing, but we made little Killjoy Ohio buttons, and I have 10 more left. So if you go to our website, queencityflash.com, you can sign up for a button. And if you live in the Cincinnati area, we will bring it to your house. But if you don't,
I'll mail it to you.
We'll mail it to you.
Yeah, if you live in New Jersey and you want a button, we'll just mail you a button. What are we doing?
Or
two. What are we doing?
Yeah. But yeah, we are on queencityflash.com is where we'll be making our next thing. So yeah.
Awesome.
And we got a second half of Have Monster Will Travel, our podcast that's got to come out.
That Jordan is in.
Yes.
Yeah. Jordan, do you want to talk about Have Monster Will Travel, our fun podcast?
Oh yeah, so How Monster Will Travel is a lovely podcast about a pair of best friends named Riley and Render, and I played Riley, and Render is a monster. So
actual monster.
He's a monster. Monsters exist. Riley has a friend, and he is a monster. That she found him when he was a baby, and she sort of raised him, and she's like a single woman living on her own. She's got a successful career, but isn't happy. Blah. And so Render is experiencing this, like, do I have family? Are there any more people like me? And so she up and sells her house and abandons everything, buys a van.
The man plays an integral part of the story.
Yes.
It's a GMC Safari, a 1996 GMC Safari, and they go on an adventure to try to find Render's family, and so that's every episode of the podcast is meeting a new monster.
Yes.
In the search of that, and the wonderful Paul Kerford Wilson is the voice of Render. The formerly mentioned Dave F. Powell plays
the villain of
the villain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and several other, I think, appearances as well from Dave Powell.
So that's the thing. That's the thing that we were doing. We started at Serials, and then we had to take a pretty massive break to get Fringe.
So yeah, we're gonna go back to doing our podcast and sort of the format. Yeah.
Great. Well, I know I'm looking forward to more of the podcast, definitely. Thank you all so much for your time and your answers, and for giving us a little bit of what we might have been able to talk to you about at the No Bar over Zoom. So I really appreciate it. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Ricky and Dana, as always, for tuning in. And I will see the rest of you watching again at 8:00 for another Talkback tonight. And then we have one tomorrow and one on Friday is the day after that. And then that'll be all the Talkbacks. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you're watching all your Cincy Fringe shows while you have access. And I will see you later.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.